The European Union is considering an embargo on oil from Russia amid Moscow's continuing attack on Ukraine. Foreign ministers from the bloc are discussing the proposal on Monday ahead of a summit by NATO and G7 nations. If the measure is approved, the EU would be joining the US and the UK in banning Russian oil, which is among Moscow's biggest sources of income. But there's more at stake for European countries because Russia is their biggest supplier of imported fuel. So far, sanctions on Moscow have done little to deter President Vladimir Putin's government from bombing Ukrainian cities. Oil prices are up more than 3% ahead of the EU meeting, with Brent crude trading above $111 a barrel. Now for more, let's go to Vicky Pryce. She's a board member at the Center for Economics and Business Research in London. Welcome back to the program, Vicky. Now, the EU is far more reliant than the US and the UK on imports from Russia. So what's changed now for the bloc? Why are they considering this possible move to have an embargo on Russian oil?
I think a lot of it is political, and that is, of course, because the sanctions that have been imposed so far, which, as you reported, are resulting in Russia being the most sanctioned country ever, are having very little effect in terms of the Russian advance in the Ukraine. And I think with the US already banning oil imports from Russia, there is pressure on the EU to do something similar. But of course, the cost of the EU, as you suggested, is going to be considerably higher because, of course, it depends to such a greater extent on Russian oil and gas. And of course, we've heard from Russia that if there are bans on Russian oil going to the EU, then they may themselves, the Russians, cut the gas that comes over to Europe anyway. And that, of course, will be quite significant in terms of its impact on the economies in Europe.
Right. So let's take a look now at the Russian economy. How big of a blow could this be to the Russian government's finances and, of course, the consumers or the public that benefit from this income?
Well, I think they're trying to see whether there are ways of mitigating it. And one of those ways would be to sell more elsewhere. I mean, after all, prices have gone up quite significantly. So for the time being, of course, Russia has been collecting a lot more cash as a result of both oil and gas prices being so high. But of course, it does export a lot to Asia. I mean, China is a major importer and consumer, of course, of energy and oil. There is a pipeline now that goes to Asia, but they will have to build another one via Mongolia if they were to increase the amount that goes there. That's going to take a bit of time, but I think there are efforts to see whether there could be diversion of that oil to other parts of the world. And there are loads of willing takers. Of course, India, as we know, also imports quite a lot of Russian gas and oil, and could do more. So diversion, but it's going to take time for that to happen. And indeed, there is no doubt that in the meantime, there is going to be a hit on the Russian economy too.
So you mentioned the impact on consumers in Europe and the UK. Your organization has numbers on this. Could you talk about just how painful it could get and is right now for consumers, particularly in the UK?
Well, yes, the consumers in the UK right now are facing already an energy bill which is likely to reduce their purchasing power, if you like, by something like 38 to 40 billion by the end of this year. So higher energy costs are already affecting us significantly. If you look more broadly across Europe, there is an issue about what would happen if gas supplies particularly are cut. Germany relies very heavily on Russian gas, as does Italy and loads of other countries. Bulgaria, if you look sort of slightly further east, we're having a number of countries which are almost entirely reliant on Russian gas. So that is going to be an issue in terms of growth. The forecasts are that if indeed there is a ban on gas imports, certainly into, say, Germany, then GDP there might fall by 3% itself. In the UK, we're seeing that possibly if there is indeed a ban and prices go up even further than they are at present, we might see our own hit on GDP at about 3% itself in terms of reduction of what would otherwise be the case. But for Germany, the forecasts are for an actual decline in GDP taking place as a result. So yes, big hit to the consumer, big hit to purchasing power. But obviously, politically, this is something that is being discussed. And, who knows, it could indeed be a price which the European leaders are prepared to take.
All right. Vicky Pryce from the Center for Economics and Business Research in London. Thank you for joining the program.
Thank you.